Hello friends and fellow crew members. Welcome once again to my table, where today I'm going to be doing something new for me, not to the world, but as the title and the thumbnail might suggest, today I'm going to be trying out Pirateborg. Clearly by the title, it is a piratesque game. So we're going to be sailing the seas, searching islands for treasure, and pitting the factions that be against each other while trying to make a little bit of silver on the side. Now, I am going to try to refrain from talking in a pirate accent the entire time, though it is very tempting. I am very ill-prepared for this video. I'm just really excited to get this playing. I've hardly flipped through the book. I've made a character a couple times, and I tried to get an okay grasp on some of the things, but I'm going to be learning this as I go and I make these videos. I'll cut out all the dead parts of me looking stuff up, but for the most part, I'm going to be playing it and learning it simultaneously. So as far as notes and everything go, I don't have much to start me off, but I do know that what I want to get out of this, I don't want to focus on one character or one or two characters as like my main protagonists and follow their story, which essentially maybe that is going to be what it ends up being, but my overall picture, how I see this is going to be about the crew itself, like the crew and the ship. And then, because this is a very deadly game, I've said that about Pathfinder, no one's died yet, blah 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 blah, but I seriously think that death is going to be a very realistic and possibly frequent threat. So if I lose a character, I'm going to bring another character back. That's why it's going to be about the crew and not the characters, because the crew is never going to die. Maybe their numbers dwindle, maybe they grow, we don't know yet. This video, I'm going to find out a name for that crew. I need to find out like how old this crew is, whether it was created, you know, like a few generations ago, if this is just being created as my game is beginning. I'll let the dice decide that. Then we'll need to figure out size of our crew, but I think that'll depend on, I'll put that up to a dice roll as well. But our crew, we are obviously going to be pirates of sorts. We're also going to be kind of bounty hunters, mercenaries, whatever gets us the silver, you know. And as far as the setting goes, I am going to be mostly using the setting that is provided in the book, which is an alternate reality setting of the Caribbean, but there are going to be a few twists to that. And I'm going to put even more tiny little twists of my own on it as we go, let the dice build the story, you know, as I do. And I think maybe about here I will put in a nice little snippet of the setting, and I'll probably have ChatGPT narrate it because they do a wonderful job narrating.
They once called these isles paradise, a sunlit sea strewn with treasure and ruin. But the sea keeps its own secrets, and it does not forget. When the old world fell to famine, rot and plague, the desperate fled to these cursed waters. They found no sanctuary. It began on the solstice. Thunder cracked, waves screamed, and the dead crawled from the surf. The scourge had come. Rot-wet corpses, hollow-eyed ghosts, bone-walkers wrapped in kelp and dread, and worse, things with no name at all, born of the abyss. Towns were razed, souls devoured. The sea took back what men had stolen. The living had nowhere to run but the grave. But even the grave offers no peace. From the ash of burned corpses rose something new, a powder, pale and cold. The world calls it ash. The remains of the destroyed und, when consumed, it warps the mind, floods the senses, and fuels the body. A drug, a currency, a curse. It is highly prized and hotly fought over. Black markets thrive, addicts glow faintly in the dark, their bones alight with the hunger of the grave. And so a new order was born, ruled by monsters, sustained by the dead. This is Pirateborg.
I'm going to go through the factions that I kind of created Now, they're going to be very blatantly based off of the factions that they give in the book here. One of the biggest differences, one of these things that kind of takes it away from realistic history, is a substance called ash. Now, I probably brought it up in the little segment that I had ChatGPT read, but ash is essentially a drug. It was discovered. Now, my setting, this is going to be a few years into this alternate reality where the dead began to rise and swim out of the seas and torment the civilians in the towns and the ships on the seas. So everybody is really well acquainted with the dead. And ash was discovered not long after that the undead began coming out of the sea. And my little twist on this, it doesn't clearly state this in the book. I think they leave it open for interpretation, however you want to do it. But it's called ash, so in my world, it is going to be extracted by not only defeating the undead or the skeletons, but you actually have to burn the undead, and what remains is a very brilliant colored substance called ash. And this was discovered more or less by accident, as they burned the bodies of the dead to obviously get rid of the smell, clear the bodies away. And then what was left was this strange substance, and who knows who or how they discovered that you could ingest it in probably just about any form you can. Eat it, snort it, drink it, and feel its effects. Now, there's a whole list in the book of possible effects that can happen, and I think we'll have fun as we go testing some of that out. Now, we'll move on to factions. The factions that I'm going to put in my version of the Caribbean is going to be as such. We have the Ashen Fluer, which I'm going to represent with the blue outline. So they inhabit this northwestern island up here. We have the West India Trading Company, which I'm going to call Whitco for short, especially if like the pirates are talking amongst each other. It seems Whitco is on our tails. That way I don't have to say the West India Trading Company every time. So the Whitco. I feel like it has a nice little flow to it as well. Regardless, they're going to be represented with the red. And the green is what I'm calling the Drowned Choir. And they are going to be represented with green on this little map here. And what these circles in the middle here are kind of representing are territory that is controlled by each individual faction. And as the days go by, I kind of just came up with a little a dice roll that I'm going to use just so the control of the land kind of fluctuates between the factions here. And I will get into how I'm doing that once we come to that. But that is what's up with this map here. And then right here, this island kind of like surrounded with gray. I'm sure you can't really tell that it's gray. I picked a bad color for that. But that is going to be the island where we, the kind of pirate faction, which I'm calling the Crimson Brotherhood, that is where kind of like our home base is going to be. We are going to move on to character creation. I have already created one character myself, and my wife actually helped me create a second character. And here in this video, I wanted to create a third character just to maybe go through character creation. There's tons of videos out there online. I'm not doing anything unique here, but anybody watching this, if they wanted to make character themselves. I'm not going in depth, but I am going to go through the step-by-step process, which is actually laid out very plainly in the book. I will say that this is honestly one of the funnest character creations that I've done. Now, granted, I don't have that much experience with role-playing games in general, but it is a really fun character creation. So let's just jump right into that. Bring up a new character sheet here. We won't worry about the name just yet. We are a PC. So, first off, we roll on these 3 tables on page 27 of this book. I need 1d6 and 2 d12s. Now the d6 tells us what container we are going to use for holding our stuff. Now, I assume this is maybe just like by your bunk on the ship. I'm not really sure. One of them's a backpack, which actually my first 2 characters ended up with a backpack, so that was useful. But we rolled a 1, and a 1 is a bucket, which can hold up to 4 normal-sized items. So whatever character this is, they're gonna have a bucket sitting next to their bunk, down in the belly of the ship. Now, what items are in this bucket of our pirate? The first D12, the white D12, is our cheap gear. Oh, and we rolled a 12, which is a pet. Perfect. Okay, I will get to that. I have to roll a D10 on that, but just for right now, I'm gonna type pet. Alright, and our second D6 is our fancy gear. And it rolled a 9, which is a worn out book. I do not know how a worn out book is a piece of fancy gear. Well, that's what the rule book says. So now let's roll a D10 to find out what pet we have. That's kind of awesome. I didn't even know that was an option. D10, what pet do we have? A 9. A pet hermit crab. Well, that's rather anticlimactic. Maybe he lives in the bucket that we have. That's silly. Alright, and next we roll for our ability scores. And first up is strength. We're rolling 3d6. And that's only going to be an 8. And an 8 is actually a -1 for our strength. Not so good coming out the gate. Agility. 11, which puts us at a 0 for agility. Next up is presence. Which is a 9, which is another 0 for presence. Toughness, which is a 10 and another 0. Honestly, this is kind of how all my 2 other characters came out too. A lot of zeros, a couple negatives. All right, and finally we have spirit. Which is 12, which is also a 0. So our third character here is basically just, they're a little weak and everything else is right on par for nothing. And next up, we're going to roll for our class. Now, I'm going to roll a d8. You can roll a d6 or a d8. Rolling the d8 adds a couple extra options that are actually kind of just more fun options than anything. So a 7 could be a haunted soul, which would be like a ghost or a zombie, or even a skeleton, yada yada yada. An 8 could be a tall tale, so we could either be a merfolk, an aquatic mutant, or a sentient animal. So let's roll our d8 and find out our class. I have to actually hit the tray. And that is a 6. is a sorcerer. Now, I will say I'm going to re-roll that because we do already have a sorcerer. We have a sorcerer and we have a zealot already. And I just want at least a little variety out on the sea. When I roll up, like, if one of these three do die, I'll just take whatever gets rolled in the future. Alright, 4. Let's see what that is. 4 is a swashbuckler. Alright, now, choosing our class also gives us a few different ability adjustments. So we are going to get a +1 to our strength. Or, well, we get to go up by 1, taking us to a 0. Our agility also goes up by 1, taking us to a +1. Presence goes down by 1, taking us into a negative. And our spirit goes down, taking us into a negative. So we kind of got worse by choosing a class, but that is fine. Okay, we get to roll a d10 to find out our starting weapon, which is a 10. Okay, I think that's actually pretty awesome. It's actually not that awesome because our presence sucks, but we rolled a 10, which is a musket. Okay, we roll a d10 for our clothing, which is a 3, which is just some common clothes. My other two characters rolled rags, so it's already a little bit better. We get a hat, which is apparently a d12 roll, and a roll of a 7, which gives us a cavalier worth 15 silver. And also we get a d10 plus our toughness, which is a 0. So we get a d10 of starting hit points. Alright, 8. That's not too bad, actually. I think that's the highest out of the 3 so far. Alright, and one other big thing for our class. We roll a d6. To find out what fighting style we start out with. So a d6. And there's a 5. We are a knife knave. You start with 2 knives, and when attacking with them, you can make 2 attacks a turn. They are DR -2 to hit, which is good. And if the first attack hits, the second is an auto hit. So awesome. That does it for what we need for our class. Next up, we got a few more tables to roll on, and then I will probably just stop it there. It's going to be a quick, kind of brief session 0, quick character creation. I might also roll up the other few things we wanted to find out about our crew. But for our background, it is a D100. Giving us 10 on the dot, which is just a simple sailor. We start with 2d6 times 10 in silver. So 2d6 times 10 in silver. Giving us 80 to start off with. That's cool. And a reason to go to sea. What be our reason to go to sea? We're gonna use Mythic for this, and then when I get into session 1, I will write up all my Mythic tables, because I am also gonna be using Mythic for this. And on that note, I bought these awesome little cards that are essentially prompts or tables of their own. You can't really see it very well on the camera, but they got a bunch of different things of like sight, sound, smell. You could even do your oracle rolls on here with your yes or no's. A lot of fun information that I can derive. And there's a whole deck of them, so I'm going to use those a little bit, but I'm still going to use Mythic for a lot of things. I'll tell you what, actually, I'm going to use the cards for this. What is our reason for going to sea? A former ally calls. The bar. Reluctantly perform duty. So, I'm thinking, we met a buddy at the bar. He asked us a favor join the crew that he is on, help him for a while, and he will forgive us of that debt we owe him. So that's our reason for going to sea. To, help relinquish our buddy of this debt we owe him. Now for the fun tables, in my opinion. A D20 to find our distinctive flaw. And that is a 6. We are a coward. That is our flaw. Okay, it makes kind of sense. We got a terrible strength. We fight with a musket. We're a coward. And our physical trademark, another D20, is another 6. We are missing an ear. I'm sorry I didn't catch that, lad. What was that? You're gonna have to speak into my good ear. Next up is idiosyncrasy, which is a word I had never heard of before I opened to this book. We have a 10. You are voluntarily insomniac. You are a voluntary insomniac. Sleep is for the dead, so he never sleeps. And finally, our unfortunate... Well, not finally, there's one more after this, but as far as kind of describing our character, our unfortunate incident is 11. An undead spirit you don't like possesses you regularly. Hey, that's... that would make me a coward too, I think, so it's kind of a piecing together. And finally, things of importance. D100 roll. We have 13. An ivory chess piece. Perhaps this ivory chess piece belonged to the spirit that possesses us. Maybe it's some kind of trauma from our past, which we will explore as we go on. Or he'll die right away and we'll roll another one because this guy kinda sucks. But we need to know his name, don't we? Or her, actually. Let's find that out. 1 to 3, it is a male. 4, 5, 6, it is a female. 1, it is a male, alright. And his name is Francis. Francis Smith. But people call him Dark Red. They call him Dark Red. I be Francis Smith the Swashbuckler. But most people just call me Dark Red. Bit of a coward I am. A bit of hard hearing I am for missing me ear. But don't mind me shaking in the middle of the night, that's just the ghost inhabiting my body. And changing my accent, apparently. Alright, with our new character out the way, Francis Smith, aka Dark Red, he will be joining Alice Perry, also known as Poe, or Pieces of 8 to those that know her really well. And we also have Jacques Jean, but you can call him the Hammer. And of course he is going to be French. With a name like Jacques Jean, you must be French. Jacques Jean, our sorcerer. Alice Perry will be our zealot, aka the healer of our crew. Francis Smith, Dark Red I am, is going to be our guns expert, apparently for now, until he dies a tragic death. Now, what ship are we all members of? And you know what, actually? I see down here at the bottom, the Harlequin's Curse. I'm a huge fan of Harley Quinn, so it's an easy choice for me. The crew of the Harlequin's Curse. Actually, really like that. So, let's figure out couple more things about our crew. Is our crew newly formed, or are we well seasoned? Like, generations have been joining our crew. My grandpa used to sail for this crew. So a 1 to 3, it's going to be new, and 4, 5, 6, it's going to be an older crew. 2, it is a newly formed crew. Okay, one last thing before I finish up this video and I get stuck talking like a pirate. We're going to have a captain of our ship. Now, none of the characters that I created are going to be the captain, because in my mind and the way I want to play my game is the captain is going to be a bit of like an abstract character. That's probably not the right word I'm looking for, but I'm never going to play as the captain. The captain is just going to more or less be part of the ship. Maybe, like, when we dock, he'll go off and do his own thing, but he's going to be pretty a staple in the story. I don't want him dying or whatever. I just don't want him to be the main focus. He's just kind of going to be there. He's going to be leading the ship. It's going to give a bit of, like, mystery also, I guess, because, like, why are we going there? Oh, you don't question the captain. He just tells us where to go, kind of thing. So, let's find out right now. Is our captain a male or female? 1, 2, 3, female, and a 4, 5, 6 is a male. Alright, 3, it is a female. And what is our captain's name? We don't need to know a class or anything like that. Maybe we'll roll some other stuff as we go on. I'm just kind of bring this video to an end, but I do want to know a name for our captain. Our female captain. Camilla. Captain Camilla Lopez. I'm thinking she defected from the Spanish army. But a mysterious one she is. But everyone aboard just calls her Blood. Devil. Everyone aboard just calls her Devil Blood. Or Blood Devil. Yeah, like Blood Devil. Everyone aboard just calls her Blood Devil. So we are the crew of the Harlequin, captained by the one and only Blood Devil, whose stats we will figure out next time. And also next time we will figure out a starting point, what we're going to be doing, and diving headfirst into this ocean of undead, drugs, brothels, sea, serpents, skeletons, and zombies. And I am excited to dive into this new thing. The combat's going to be easy. The bloodshed's going to be common. And fun is going to be on the horizon. So, thank you guys so much for watching, if you did. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have a good day.